Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttoknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations, knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you. Coming up on this edition of Tennessee Life, volunteer state Olympians. Fitness guru Missy Kane has an unusual story of how trying out for the track team on a whim led her to the 1984 Olympics.
Merely Retton, the gymnast, was in front of me because she's even shorter than I am. So walking in, and we'd been having fun, but all of a sudden when we hit that stadium and everybody starts putting their flags up and it's just going crazy, a lot of us just had tears coming down.
Before he was the head diving coach at the University of Tennessee, Dave Parrington was an Olympic competitor himself.
Being an Olympian, competing in the Olympic Games was really the highlight of my entire career. I've taken what I learned there from that competition and applied it to a lot of my coaching over the years.
This Polish champion has been coaching archery in Knoxville for more than 2 decades, and she has a Senior Olympics gold medal.
Archery community is like a family. Wherever you go, you feel like a member of the family.
Those stories next on Tennessee Life.
Thanks for joining us for this edition of Tennessee Life. I'm Vicki Lawson. There's just something about the Olympics that brings about an excitement and pride and makes us want to cheer on Team USA. Here in Tennessee, we have a lot to be proud of with our own legacy of Olympians. Missy Kane is a track and field champion and knows firsthand what it's like to compete on the world stage. She talked to me about how her Olympic experience shaped her Tennessee life.
I can remember walking in the opening ceremonies in '84, it was in Los Angeles. It was a big media push because, as you remember, '80 we boycotted, so we hadn't been to the Olympics since '76. And so there was a lot of hoopla, the stands were just with overflow, and I'm not a real emotional person, but the United States goes in last because we are the host country. Merely Retton, the gymnast, was in front of me because she's even shorter than I am. So walking in, and we'd been having fun, but all of a sudden when we hit that stadium and everybody starts putting their flags up and it's just going crazy, a lot of us just had tears coming down because you just felt so proud of your country, so grateful that we were there participating and representing the United States. So it was one of those times I'll never forget.
Where did you grow up?
Grew up in Nashville. Grew up and went to St. Cecilia, a great high school, but I mean, Vicki, it was so small, 50 people in my class. And we had basketball, and I was a cheerleader, but no track. And so I never knew that I could run until I ended up going to Tennessee.
What were you like as a child?
I think one teacher said I was like a class clown. I liked to entertain and wasn't very serious about school. And so my parents told me when I went to UT, they said, you know, we are not paying for you to go up there and just have a good time. And my mother loves sports, and she used to say, why don't you get involved with something worthwhile? Even sports. I think she thought basketball. And I was walking by the UT track one day, and this girl in my sorority said, Missy, we could try out for the track team. There's a notice up. And I'm like, okay. And she goes, will you come do it with me? And I'm like, well, I liked field days. I was pretty good in gym class. So I went and did these sprints, and Terry Crawford told me I made the team, and my parents are just shocked when I called them that I was on the UT track team. My coach, Terry Crawford, was an 800-meter runner. She encouraged me to go longer, do the half mile, and then the mile. And even though it was a really painful event, it was one of those love-hate relationships.
Do you remember a moment when you decided sports and being an athlete was going to be your focus?
I think so, even though I didn't think about I want to be an Olympic athlete. That really never went through my mind in college or right after. But you're right in that because I got on the track team and I got serious about school. I majored in exercise physiology, teaching degree, and I wanted to be a coach. And so my first job at Central High School in town was teaching health and physical education and coaching track and volleyball, different sports. And then during the years of coaching and teaching for 4 years at Central, I gained a little weight and I coached track. So I figured, hey, if I start running with my team, my boys and girls team, maybe they will quit skipping out of some of the hard workouts and I'll get back in shape. And I did some weight training, teaching aerobics just to make extra money. All that kind of came together and made me think, I have a chance to go to a U.S. championship or the Olympic trials. So it took a while.
Tell me about your best time ever running the 1,500 meter.
I ended up shocking myself and getting third at a USA meet in Indianapolis because I didn't run for 4 years when I was teaching and coaching. I just didn't race, and then went back to get my master's degree at UT. So I was 27, 28, and I made my first U.S. team, went to Pan Am Games, and qualified for the Olympic trials. And I was a nervous Nelly when I went to the Olympic trials because I thought, oh, I've got a shoe contract. I hope I can make it through one round. I was just nervous because the top three make the team, and media had picked Mary Decker is going to make the team, and so. And I was not even mentioned. And so I was just thinking, I am so tired. I don't think I can do this. But there was a Paralympic exhibition race where they're in wheelchairs. Mm-hmm. And I talked to myself and I'm like, Missy Kane, you should be grateful that you are here. Just shut up and get out there and do your best. And so the race went on, it's 4 laps, and with about a lap to go, I was in 8th place out of 12. Somebody kind of tripped and I went around them and I kept going around the last turn and I edged out lean and I beat 2 girls I'd never beaten before and I was 4th. 1 place out of the Olympic team. But I ran 4:06, which is like a 4:25 mile. I can't believe these legs ran that fast. But my story to kids now is I got a call a week later saying, you're Missy Kane. I went, yes. They said, well, congratulations, you're on the Olympic team. Mary Decker's decided just to do the 3,000 meters. So that was my best race ever, and that's how I got on the Olympic team.
When you were getting ready to start that race at the Olympics, what were you thinking?
I'd been injured a little bit, my Achilles, but I thought I feel pretty good, and I went and got in the race. It was the semifinals of the 1,500, and I went out to the back, and I remember there was a girl from Romania, and somebody got tripped up with her, and then all of a sudden, with about 100 meters to go, I felt good, but I was boxed in, and I told the girl in front of me, Diana, she was on the U.S. team, go, Diana, because I was trying to get around her. So we all sprinted to the finish line, and I thought I made the finals, because we all had about the same time. Then the next heat came around with the 1,500 and I got bumped by 1 place. So that was disappointing. That was the 13th, at the Olympics. But then looking back, I'm like, you know what? I was there, I got to compete, and it was like a dream come true.
How old were you when you competed in the Olympics?
Older. A lot of the gals back then would be right out of college, and I was 29. And really, I got my better times in the 3,000, 5,000, and 10,000 in my early 30s.
What doors did your success as an athlete open up for you?
Bob Kessling and I had met doing Expo Road Race in town. It was I commentated it locally one time, and he said, well, get back to us after the Olympic trials. And then I made the team, and so when I came back, I talked to Bob Kessling, and he gave me a shot at doing health and fitness tips on WBIR. That led to doing sports stories, and I worked for Fox Sports. So I did all the SEC meets for about 20 years and worked NBC over in Rome, Italy with Dick Enberg and Dwight Stones, and that was really neat. But I think my love has always been fitness. And so besides my job at Covenant Health now, I started my fitness show back in around 1998. Because I think people at home want to see, look at this person. They're not a skinny mini. They may be a few pounds overweight, but they've lost 50 pounds or they've gotten off blood pressure medication through exercise. So I think it's really, I guess, rewarding to me as as a life coach almost to see how fitness can really change someone's life, not to make an Olympic team, but just to be a healthy person.
Tennessee has so many wonderful opportunities to get outdoors. Tell me about the hikes you organize.
I think it's getting outdoors and just having fun with people and realizing you don't have to race up a trail to get a great workout in. just do a 5-mile hike is pretty long, but taking half a day, you're burning a lot of calories and you're meeting new friends. So it's been not only the Smokies, but I think the Cumberland Trail around Crab Orchard, that area I love. There's just so many great places in Tennessee to explore. And I'm like a kid. I like to go hit the trails at 61 years old.
You were just recently inducted into the Tennessee Sports Hall of Fame. That must have been an overwhelming honor.
It was in Nashville, and that's where I'm from. So I had some of the sisters from St. Cecilia, where I went to high school, were there. And then, a lot of folks from East Tennessee came down. It was really great, and I was inducted with a neat class. It was the 50th class, which was really an honor.
Has it been important to you to remain in Tennessee?
I had thought about moving with television in the past, but Tennessee is just my roots, and my husband's from Ohio, but he says, gosh, why would you want to live anywhere else? I mean, it's a great place to live. I love Nashville. The whole state's great, but I think for me, it just feels like home.
Missy Kane, thanks for sharing your Tennessee life with us and for motivating others to always stay fit.
Thanks. Enjoyed it.
Later on Tennessee Life, this international archery champion is training future Olympians on her East Tennessee practice field. But next, he has a legacy of coaching champion divers, along with his own Olympic story.
Since 1990, the University of Tennessee diving team has been led by Olympian Dave Parrington. The Zimbabwe native has made quite a mark on American diving. The SEC has named him Diving Coach of the Year 13 times. We caught up with him at the pool, where he's helped many UT divers realize their dreams of becoming national champions and Olympians.
The excitement of the Olympics every quadrennium certainly fires, anybody up that's paying any attention to the Olympic Games or has an interest in it. When the Olympic stuff comes on, I'm watching just about everything. And of course, especially the diving and the swimming and water polo, those type of sports that I've played and been involved in. The excitement that comes around every single 4 years is just, I can't get enough of it. And once you're an Olympian, you're an Olympian for life. I'm Dave Parrington. I'm the diving coach here at the University of Tennessee. I came here to coach in the fall of 1990. The University of Tennessee and the people around town were just so hospitable. It was amazing. And I just had the right feeling. I didn't even know exactly what it was. I do know the year before I was actually offered four other jobs, none of which I just felt like were the place for me. And I've had a fair amount of involvement with the Olympic Games. My mother's maiden name was Lillian Priest, and she competed under her maiden name. And she competed at the 1948 Olympic Games in London for Great Britain, so she had a home Olympics. And then again in 1952 in Helsinki, where she was the captain of the British Olympic swimming team. When I was age 3, Rhodesia was a British colony at that time, and my parents were very adventurous and decided to make the move to that country, and were very involved in coaching swimming. Both my mom and dad were coaches, swimming coaches, outstanding swimming coaches, and did that. So I lived around, we lived across the street from the pool, and if I wasn't in the pool swimming, I was messing around on the diving boards or throwing around a water polo ball or whatever I could do in the water. Did that. Eventually I moved to get my college degree in 1978 at the University of Houston, where I competed collegiately and was able to compete for Zimbabwe at the 1980 Olympics. Prior to 1980, the country of Zimbabwe was known as Rhodesia and were exiled from all international competition because of the country's political views. And so in 1980, Zimbabwe became a new nation and were readmitted into the Olympic movement. And so I was named, along with some other divers and swimmers, to the Zimbabwe Olympic team, which I'm extremely proud of. I competed in the 3-meter springboard and the 10-meter platform event. Being an Olympian, competing in the Olympic Games, was just, was really the highlight of my entire career. I've taken what I learned there from that competition and applied it to a lot of my coaching over the years. I was the head coach for the Zimbabwe Olympic team in 1996 here in Atlanta, which was just an amazing Olympic Games, and then the next one's in Sydney as well. I did have a diver that was representing Romania, also diving in that particular Olympic Games, and was able to use my personal experience from competing in helping those guys dive in those particular games. The biggest difference in diving today and from when I was diving, first of all, the level of athleticism that the youngsters of today have compared to what I had. I considered myself a pretty good athlete back in the day, but nothing compared to what we're dealing with nowadays as coaches. The level of education, the level of training that the athletes of today do is hugely different to what I went through. You know, when I was a diver growing up, we'd show up at the pool and put on our swimsuits and get out on the board and start diving. There was no stretching, there was no, we did a little bit of conditioning, but nothing like what the divers and athletes do nowadays. Nowadays you're talking about, you know, get to the pool an hour beforehand, maybe an hour and a half beforehand on many occasions. You've got a rigorous warm-up to go through, then you've got a stretching routine, particularly as divers. Flexibility is a huge component of what divers need to have. Doing dry somersaults on a trampoline, in a harness overhead, and that's all before we get in the water. 50% of our training is done on the dry land before we even get into the pool. Mine was all in the pool. The difficulty of the dives that the divers today are doing is just mind-boggling. The women divers today are doing way bigger lifts than I ever did as a diver. Being named the Diving Coach of the Year in the Southeast Conference 13 times, and what makes that really special is that's an award that is voted on by my peers in the Southeast Conference. So to be voted as the Conference Coach of the Year by your own peers makes it that much more special. To have that type of respect from my peers it means the world to me. And I've also been named the NCAA Women's Coach of the Year one time in 2013. And again, that's voted on by my peers, and my divers have been able to get up and have the results, but to be voted as the Coach of the Year is just very special. I've never become tired of being a coach, and I'm driven by the thought of trying to help young adults become Olympians and youngsters become Olympians, kids that come through our camps and through our junior diving program. I was brought up with this mindset that the Olympics was what it's all about if you're an athlete. And so, you know, when I finished competing, I mean, I can remember at age 14 knowing that I wanted to be a coach and started helping other kids. And if our coach was away, which when I grew up that was fairly frequent, I was always the guy that stood on the side and did the coaching of the others in between my own dives. So every day when I come to practice, you know, my dream is to be able to help the young men and women that I'm working with to realize those dreams that they may have. You know, there's only a small handful of athletes in any sport, but certainly in our sport as well, that really get that opportunity. You can have all the talent in the world, but to be able to step up on the board when it really matters and be able to do the dives that will earn you that right is a very difficult chore, and there's so much that goes into it, from the day-to-day training, the dry land work that we do, the weightlifting that we do, the mental training that we do, the nutrition that's involved, every aspect. So for me as a coach, to be able to help guide young adults to be able to become Olympians is really what drives me.
A Polish woman has been sharpening her champion archery skills for more than 45 years, many of them here in Tennessee. She qualified for 2 Olympic Games and recently brought home a gold medal from the National Senior Games. Meet the coach behind Olympic Arrow Archery.
Teaching kids and seeing them doing well, it gives me so much joy. I love sharing my passion to archery with kids. I love having my summer camps. Every summer camp gives me so much more energy and joy and satisfaction, because I see the young people being exposed the first time to the sport of archery and being excited and starting having dreams. Of course, not everybody has to be an Olympian. But I like the kids to come and participate in the sport and create a small archer community and have their own goals and set the goals and reach the goals. It's just a great way of spending time.
Archery is very challenging, but mostly I think it really helps your outlook on life a little bit too, because it's like you're focusing on how you get there instead of where your target is. So if you forget what you're doing here, then you start missing the target. So a little philosophy there, but it's one of my favorite parts.
My name is Elżbieta Tworek, and I'm an archery coach. And I've been teaching archery and coaching archery in Knoxville for almost 20 years. And I am running my private club, the Olympic Arrow Archery Club. The name is the Olympic Arrow Archery Club to distinguish the difference between any other archery clubs around, because there are many archers, but they train for hunting season. They are excellent archers at field archery. And since I was always involved in Olympic style, then I promote the Olympic style, which is this colorful target we are using. I came from the country of Poland, where I learned how to shoot bow and arrow about 45 years ago. When I was 10-year-old, I was so excited about watching archers in my small town shooting bow and arrow in our local park. And I always wanted to try the same with them. And one day they came to my school and invited kids to come to the club and try archery. Of course, I was first of them, raising my hand and asking, can I? And it just happened, it was 45 years ago when I started. I am a very competitive person, and definitely I wanted to win with all the kids with me at the first class. It just happened a few months later, I was one of the best shooters in the group. And a year later, I was a national champion. Only 13 when I won the first national champion title. In 1977, there was the time when I was shooting very high scores, and I became the Polish Junior Olympics, and I was a champion of the Polish Junior Olympics. And there was the first moment when I qualified as a candidate to the group of people they will go to Olympics. There was, of course, bigger group of us, but getting closer and closer to the Olympics, the group became smaller and smaller. Unfortunately, I got injured and I never ended up in the team. When I recovered from my injury, I started shooting extremely high scores, which qualified me to the Olympic team again. And I was having dreams about going to Los Angeles in 1984 again. Unfortunately, it didn't happen because all the athletes from East Bloc didn't go. And my dream at the time finished with the boycott. I used archery as a bridge between these two cultures. Archery community is like a family. Wherever you go, you feel like a member of the family. And not knowing English, not knowing anybody in this country when we moved in, having friends in archery was a big deal. And believe me or not, the very first week after I moved to the United States, I ended up in archery club asking for a bow that I can borrow. That was my beginning. And I was embraced by those people over there. I grew up in an environment that archery was an elite sport, a noble sport, almost like a tennis. We were wearing white clothing, always white skirts and white tops and everything in white. But when I moved to Tennessee, there was a surprise because archers in Tennessee are extremely strong archers, but they are known from doing some other type of archery. This is why I was big surprised that they were laughing at me when I was coming to practices with my athletic attire, and they were coming with camouflage.
I went to the NFAA national competition, and I placed first and got this big cup. It's pretty nice knowing that I put the effort in to get that.
National competitions is always a goal for every of my advanced student. And the national competition, it's always like a big festival.
It's just really relaxing. It takes my mind off of everything that's like stressful. It's good. It's nice to do during school, especially if I have a lot of homework. It's just nice to get all the stress away.
I got my gold medal from Senior Olympic Games in 2015. Last year I was having a goal to win Senior Olympics, which is a big event for all people. They are over 50, and it was my ultimate goal to win this Senior Olympic Games. It just happened that not only I brought this medal, but also my husband, who started shooting not long time ago. There is always a dream to meet someone who is serious about getting better and better, so good in shooting that can qualify to Olympic team. This is a dream for every coach, to have someone else to work with, and I'm still dreaming about having this people coming to my club. There are some very talented young people coming every year. They're trying archery, and some of them show already lots of talents, and I hope there might be some future Olympians.
We hope you've enjoyed this Olympic edition of Tennessee Life. I'm Vicki Lawson. See you next time.
Tennessee Life is sponsored by
Mid-South Sewing is an authorized brother dealer and repairs all brands of machines. Mid-South Sewing, known for their many fabrics, classes, and individual instructions. Classes on sewing and embroidery machines, software, sergers, and quilting. Mid-South Sewing, Knoxville and Murfreesboro.
Tennessee Life is also brought to you by Next to New, an upscale consignment shop serving Knoxville. nexttonewknox.com. And by The Flower Pot, for over 100 years, offering flowers and same-day delivery with 2 convenient Knoxville locations. knoxvilleflowerpot.com. And by viewers like you. Thank you.